All right, I believe that means we are live. Awesome. So, hello everyone, and welcome to our Foundry Live Education Summit for fall of 2021. We really appreciate you joining us here today. My name is Kirsten Salahi, and I am the Education Industry Manager over here at Foundry. I'm based in Arkansas in the United States, and I will be hosting our event today. Joining me, we have Jen Goldfinch, who is our Senior Director of Industry Marketing here at Foundry. Tamara Wilson, a Senior HR Business Partner over at DNEG. Harriet Edge Partington, the Head of Unicorn Discovery at Union VFX. Sean Whelan, the Co-Founder and CEO over at Filmgate. And Zachary Van Hoy, who is the Senior Director over at Action VFX. Additionally, I'd like to introduce you to our education team. We have Kaylin, who is our education sales manager. She's based in Austin, Texas. Eugenie, our education sales representative based in London. And Kaylin works primarily with the Americas, New Zealand, and Australia, whereas Eugenie focuses on Europe and the Middle East. Kaylin and Eugenie work closely with Suzanne, who's based near Boston, who takes care of all of your licensing and education support needs. Hopefully that puts some faces to some names that you may already know from our email correspondence. But if you guys ever have a need to connect with us further, I'm happy to facilitate those conversations and talk about how you and your institution utilize Foundry's products. Before we get too far into our agenda, I want to bring to your attention that chat panel that you guys look like. I love all of these responses. It should be on the right of your screen. There are a few different places and ways that you can participate. We have our chat, which I love that you guys are already familiar with. To the right of that, you should see a place for questions. Once we get to our Q&A, or if you have questions that pop up while we're talking, you can put those in the questions tab so that we can drag them on screen and answer them a little bit later. And I think you guys should see the polls button as well. If not, that'll pop up where you can see it. We have a few different questions for y'all over the course of our event, and so we'd love to hear from you. If you haven't already, please go ahead and share where you're from in the chat. You can share whatever information is comfortable for you, your school, your country, your state, your city, a famous landmark that's near you, anything that you are cool with letting us know. We have a lot of schools in a lot of countries that are represented here today. I, for example, am about an hour and a half from the home of Elvis Presley. So today's session is going to start with a quick overview of our education programs at Foundry, followed by some education-related info from our partners at Action VFX and the rookies. Following that, we have our panel discussion with representatives from DNEG, Union VFX, and Filmgate Studio. We will then open the floor to audience questions, so be sure to pop those questions in the questions tab. We are ending our time today with a giveaway from Action VFX and Foundry. We will have a poll that goes out in just a couple of minutes, so please be sure to answer that poll so that you are entered to win one of our giveaways. All right, so what is up with our webinar today? There are a few initiatives that we're working on here at Foundry so that we have the opportunity to advance our educational presence. Foundry is involved with industry organizations that are impacting change in the field of visual effects. My colleague Jen will touch more on this later, but there are so many exciting things that are happening with our partner organizations regarding removing barriers in visual effects education. We also promote sharing resources and working with partners so that we have the opportunity to expand the teaching of Foundry software. As education manager, I very specifically work to increase communication between the industry and educators. We've all also been there in that kind of in-between moment where you're about to graduate, you're finishing school, and you're ready to make that leap into the professional field. We really hope that today's panel helps you guys support your students so that they are ready to make that jump. And finally, we work with students to support them in getting that jumpstart in their professional careers by providing them with Foundry software commercial upgrades at affordable prices for new graduates. We do that through our Upgrade to Commercial program. All right, hopefully everyone here is familiar with our home use keys that we introduced at the start of 2021. If you're currently a Foundry Education customer, you should have received the student home use keys with your classroom license order this year. This home use option is a unique key that's created to allow your students to use their license at home. It's valid for the duration of your school's licenses, and so the students have support from the beginning to the end of their course. Each year, when you renew your institutional license, the home use keys are renewed as well, and new keys are issued. The home use keys are a nice, convenient way for your students to be able to install Nuke, Mari, Moto, or Katana on their personal computers without needing to apply to us or undergo the verification process. They are not a replacement for your classroom licenses, and they cannot be installed on classroom or lab computers. Any students that are studying at a school who don't teach Foundry can apply for an individual free license, and all of those applications go through a verification process by our education team. Like I mentioned just a little bit ago, we also have the Upgrade to Commercial program for recent graduates so that they have the chance to use commercial products without taking on that commercial investment so early on in their career. Our overall goals are to make sure that our education customers are really well supported, and also to encourage students everywhere to explore all of our software. If you think that your school should have those keys for your students and you haven't received anything, please, please, please reach out to us at education@foundry.com. Another way that we support our education community is through our Foundry Learn pages. We value learning not only for the industry, but for our future visual effects professionals. We'd love to hear what kinds of things you guys feel are useful. We upgrade our Learn page at every new release, and we also host third-party content whenever we can. And it looks like that poll has dropped for you guys. All right, we are actively seeking out videos, tutorials, and learning guides. And those aren't just targeted at our industry professionals, but we would love to make those available and make sure you know what you have access to for students in your classroom. Our Insights Hub, if you haven't checked that out, is also full of videos, tutorials, written content, and all kinds of good stuff. This is a great place for you guys to check out customer stories, innovations that are happening in real time, and industry trends happening right now. Another thing that we like to use that for is to keep you up to date with what's going on with our Foundry tools. We welcome you guys to check that out and use whatever you can for your classroom. All right. In addition to our Insights Hub and Learn channel, we're building a network of educators through a private LinkedIn group. This is for educators, trainers, instructors, teachers, and I'll be very honest, you guys have a wide array of titles across the globe. But if you are using our software to teach students, I want to invite you to be part of our network. I do believe one of my colleagues is dropping that link in the chat for you guys. We hope to be able to use this group as a quick and easy way to get the latest information out to you guys. However, I don't want to be the only one posting in there. The hope is that it's going to grow and evolve so that you guys are also sharing what's going on with your school. I would love to see things like student show reels, program initiatives, festivals that are happening, events, any kind of new updates from your school and things that are innovative. We are super curious to hear about those kind of things. And I think other instructors would love to hear what's happening with you guys too. The more that we know about you guys and the more that we know about your school, the better that we can support you and the more we can make sure that everyone has access to those kinds of events. If you haven't already, we also have our Foundry newsletters and our YouTube channel. Also happening today is that we are giving away 2 of Action VFX 2K Plus plans. I believe it is a 6-month subscription that includes 15 downloads each month. And we are giving away a Foundry Education Collective license to 2 faculty members. We are super excited to partner with Action VFX to be able to give that away. In order to be considered for that giveaway, please check out the poll and just simply answer yes and submit your vote if you would like to be entered for that prize. I'm really excited. I checked out their website. Lots of things go boom. All right. And I will now kind of hand it over to our Senior Director of Industry Marketing, Jen Goldfinch, to give you an industry update.
Thank you so much, Kirsten. And it's just so great to see all these amazing educators popping in the chat. And I looked at some of the attendees as well and want to thank you all for taking the time in your busy schedule to join us today. I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the things we're seeing in the industry today in terms of some of the challenges our customers are facing, and also some of the things that are near and dear to our heart, including support for diversity and inclusion. Oops, wrong. Not a PowerPoint. So one of the things, that caught our eye, I guess about 6 months ago, is everywhere I would look, I'd open up LinkedIn on any given day and everybody's hiring. These were the images I could make fit. I saw a recruiter from a big studio who posted a photo of her dog and was using her dog to attract attention to her ad. I thought it was really clever. I've seen VFX supervisors begging for more compositing talent. The struggle for our studios is quite intense. There's a lot of projects out there. There's a lot of jobs out there. And there's a lot of opportunities. And as a result, we are seeing also at some of our larger customers, some really great internship programs that they've been doing in a virtual environment for the last couple of years to try and figure out how they can help increase that talent pipeline while in a pandemic environment. So a lot of the big studios, and this is just a snapshot and by no means just the only 4. I know Sony has them. There's tons of them out there that are really dedicated to bringing in young talent, which I think is a great opportunity for students. And the more that we know about these, the more we can share with you as well. So Kirsten's working with some of our recruiters and some of our trainers at the bigger studios to help share these opportunities, which we'll continue to keep posting when we see them on our LinkedIn group. There we go. So I don't know if anyone has seen the recent Annenberg report that they did with women in animation, but this is grim. Across 400 films in the last few years, women had 21% of VFX credits. So that's something like 3.6 men to every one woman working in VFX. In addition, women of color are represented even less. So one of the things that we're trying to do at Foundry is help support the industry where we can and invest in opportunities with different organizations that do have call to action to increase diversity, not just with women, but people of color, people in underrepresented regions and areas and locations. And that's a little bit about, it's hard to find positives during a pandemic, but I think some of the positive things that we're seeing is that there's more opportunities for people that aren't in the big hubs, in the Montreals or LA or Vancouver. And we're seeing jobs and studios all over the world that are able to hire remote workers, which is just giving it's more inclusive to people that might not be in these large cities. So these are some of the industry organizations that we invest in and we support. Academy Software Foundation is near and dear to my heart. I work with the Outreach Committee, and I also work on the Diversity Committee. And there's a lot of effort and activities that are happening within this organization with some of the biggest studios in the world, really. It's not just North America. So ASWF have held webinars where they have people representing different backgrounds and different groups, talking about opportunities and how they got started. And really the goal in those webinars is really just to show people people that might look like them on screen versus what a lot of folks are used to seeing in presentations. So we had amazing women, we had all kinds of speakers globally, and it's really great. And the ASWF also did a mentorship program this summer for women and folks who identify as non-binary, and that was a really great program to see the support that they got from the organization, and people got jobs after it. This organization is focused on the technical roles in our industry, so more about the computer science and technical director and pipeline type stuff, but really a great group. So I encourage you to keep an eye on it. Women in Animation is another organization that we recently started supporting a little bit more. So there's a current scholarship opportunity for young women that we do encourage you to share with your students, and hopefully we'll see some great opportunity there. Another one that's new to us, but we're really just getting started, is the Brick Foundation out here. I think it got started in California, and the Brick Foundation's mission is really to help empower high schools, and I think a little bit on the community college side. We're teaching high school teachers some of the tools that they need to empower their students to have a more technical background. There's a lot of effort to keep jobs in California. I think I saw a question on the question tab about that. And it's really an excellent organization. It's been a little bit on pause due to COVID, but I believe they have an event coming up in June of 2022 where they're going to be doing teacher training for high school teachers. So a really special group. Access VFX is another group that's really important to us as well. So St. Walker's on the call and a few other folks who participate. It's an organization whose goal is to increase access to VFX, hence the title. They've done tons of webinars and podcasts. They've done some training sessions when we were allowed to be in person. They have subgroups for Black creatives and LGBTQ, and there's just all these different groups within the organization that are there to foster community and support. We're trying a pilot project with Access VFX because Foundry is a sponsor of their mentor program. So the mentor program matches students with professionals in the industry, and they have a safe platform with this third-party platform we use where they can communicate. They only can communicate on this platform. There's no off-platform talk, and they can get questions on their show reels, on their career aspirations, on just almost anything. So we're working with Santa Monica College, and I see that Devin. Yes, you're right. Sorry, Harriet, not just students. Anyone can participate with Access VFX. On the education front, we're supporting Access VFX and Santa Monica College. And Santa Monica College, for one of their advanced compositing courses, is making the mentorship part of the curriculum. So every student has to join this platform and be matched with the mentor. So we're really excited to see the results of that. It's going to happen in February 2022. But hopefully, if this pilot project is a success, then we can do more work and reach out to more community colleges across America and Canada, and then possibly start in Europe. So we would love to see this mentor program flourish. We think having that mentorship with the students is really important. And I should say, if you do have any professionals in your organization, we're always looking for professionals to be the mentors. We need compositing mentors, we need 3D mentors, and a little bit of technical mentors as well. So please take a look at Access VFX. It's a wonderful organization. Then I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the rookies from the student perspective. So I'm sure there's a lot of you who are familiar with the Rookies. It's an organization that has been around, I believe, since 2010. We did invite them to speak today, but time zones, I think it's 3 a.m. in Sydney, and that's where the founders are from. So, 6 p.m. might be a little late for our London folks, but 3 a.m. is just a little bit too early. But the Rookies is a wonderful organization. They have a very they have a very broad range of activities and programs to support schools. I'm not going to go through them all. I can barely read them on my laptop, but I encourage you to take a look at the Rookies. One of the things that Foundry invests in and sponsors, and we have for the last 5 years, is their student contest. So they have a student contest with a whole bunch of different categories. There's I can think of VFX on top of mind because that's the one we sponsor. There's also 3D animation. I think there's some real-time categories as well, but really a great organization to get students to submit their work. There's a portfolio, people vote, they comment, they can show how they've done it. And this gets seen globally by thousands of people. And there's internships that are connected to this. There's a great judging panel of industry professionals, but really something to think about to get your students' work noticed and really get noticed on a global scale. So please take a look at the Rookies. It's a great group. So coming back to Foundry and what we're doing in the industry and what's happening with us is we've been very focused the last couple of years on our product releases, and a big part of that has been interoperability, making tools work together, making tools that are future-proof. So the skills that you're teaching.
All right. It looks like we may have lost Jen,
Am
and
I
she's
back?
back.
Oh,
Hey,
sorry. Hotel Wi-Fi is dodgy at best. Um,
welcome back.
I'm almost done, so hopefully it won't be too bad. But one of the things that's been a big theme in our product releases, and I'm not going to say it's because of the pandemic, but there's been a lot of departmental communication that's been really strong since we all went into lockdown in March of 2020. So the teams have been working really closely to make sure that our products talk to each other and work together. And they've also done some work to leverage some of the strengths in some products and bring them into others, where you'll see that a little bit in some of the technology behind Modo and Mari. So these are these 4 products that I'm talking about today. These are all being released. I think Modo was last week or the week before, but basically in a 4-week time span. So our release teams are busy. Our social media is going to be filled with product releases. Modo 15 was launched a couple of weeks ago, and Modo 15.2 is really ready to make your life easier with over 50 feature additions and enhancements that help keep you, as our team says, in the flow. So I know John's a Modo teacher on the call. A lot of work has been done on this release, and hopefully it's something that your students will be able to dive into. Mari 5 is coming out today, I believe, unless there's any changes. And it's a really pivotal release for our texturing software, featuring fundamental USD investments, which is really important to our customers, improved artist tools, and enhanced workflows to reduce this pipeline friction that we hear a lot about. So the goal with Mari 5 is to boost that creative collaboration. So that's going to be released at some point today. Also with Nuke 13.1, which is coming very, very, very soon. There's been a lot of work on the 3D user experience and some new features like our new Unreal Reader node. So if any schools out there are exploring or teaching virtual production, highly encourage you to take a look at Nuke 13.1. The Unreal Reader node allows you to bring in Unreal renders into Nuke. So anything you're doing on LED screens or on virtual screens, bringing that into Nuke and being able to manipulate it and put it into comp has been really exciting to see our customers and what they've been able to do with it. So I encourage you to take a look at that. And then finally, towards the end of the year, we're going to see Katana 5.0. And there's some really exciting bits in Katana 5.0, including Katana Nuke interoperability, which is really going to help those compers who do lighting and those lighters who do a little bit of comp. So we're looking forward to seeing what schools think about this and how you're going to potentially integrate that into your if you're teaching Katana, how you're going to integrate that into your curriculum. It's got a more powerful architecture updates. And again, going back to that pipeline friction and making it easier to work within our own products is really important to us. If you want to know more about the specifics of each of these products, we have hosted Foundry Live at the end of September. So our YouTube channel has all the videos with all the product details from our product managers. So I encourage you to take a look at whatever product is your flavor. Take a look at what we announced in September, and that has all the details you might need. And finally, I just wanted to take a moment, for those of you who may or may not know, we're celebrating our 25th anniversary this year. And I wanted to just remind everyone and thank them, because we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you guys. If you guys weren't teaching the students of the future and our customers of the future, Foundry wouldn't be 25 years old. So this really is a celebration of our entire community. And we thank our educators out there who work so tirelessly with students all over the world. We appreciate you, and we're looking forward to working closer with you as we turn 26 in January. So with that, I'd love to throw it over to Zach from Action VFX, one of our exceptional partners, and hear a little bit about what's going on at their company.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having me here today. I am Zachary Van Hoy, and I'm the head of product development here at Action VFX. So here, our team, we see the need for a high quality, organized, and highly curated library that can fit the needs of everyone from students to freelance artists and all the way to the largest studios in the industry. So our team's goal is to build the undisputed best and largest library of VFX assets in the world. Our library is used by many studios, including Mr. X, The Mill, and Activision. And our elements have been used in many films, TV shows, video games such as Spider-Man Far From Home, Stranger Things, and the Call of Duty franchise. Our library is also used in many schools around the world where educators are working to teach and grow the next generation of VFX artists that will be entering into the workforce. So how can we help you? The first thing is the amount of time that you spend. This, if you're having to create your own assets, shoot your own assets for different projects, then you're spending a lot of time in that. Even just searching sometimes for assets, whether it be items that are a good quality or have the variation that's needed, or just finding the right thing, that can take a lot of time. Also, our library is well organized and easy to source. The collections are all categorized into their respective categories. So if you need something for fire, you can simply go to the fire category and everything is going to be there that includes fire. Smoke and atmospherics are another category. Gun effects, explosions, and so on. So everything's very well organized. It's named in a way that's easy to know what the clip is or what the collection is and pertains when just looking at file names. And so you're saving time with not having to open up every single preview and look at that before making a decision, but you can automatically narrow something down based on the angle that's needed for the camera angle. So if you're looking for a muzzle flash and you need a side angle for one shot, and then you need something that's straight on at the camera for other shots, you can easily find that just simply by the file name. We also are providing very high quality industry standard files. So for instance, we shoot on RED cameras. So we are providing ProRes renders as well as RED R3D files when we deliver our products that were shot for real. And those are going to give you the flexibility in post that you may not get with everything else, especially not MP4s. And then we're also offering multipass EXRs on all of our CG products, which is extremely helpful for the compositing where you may need normals passes to relight, or you might need the motion vectors or different light passes. And lastly, it allows schools to really produce a more professional work like that of a junior artist. And the students coming out of the programs have worked with these industry standard files. They've worked with the files in the same library that maybe a lot of the studios that they're going to work in, they have a copy of their own, so they're already familiar with that, and that gives them a leg up, and they know exactly what they're going to have access to as far as our library when they get there. And it just makes their work even better in the sense that having those better files, those better assets, more professional assets to work with can have an end result of more professional work. And next, I would like to announce that we are doing a giveaway today. We are doing 2 6-month subscriptions for our 2K Plus plan. So I believe we have a poll going out, and if you would mind to answer this poll if you're interested in this, and there will be a drawing a little bit later. So lastly, I'd like to say just again, thank you for having me here, letting me speak to you. And we currently are about to start our Black Friday sale, which is going to be 50% off of our entire library. So if you have any questions, if you are interested in this or interested in anything that we can offer, have any questions for us, please do reach out to us at sales@actionvfx.com. And if your question is more technical or you would like to talk to me, you can also reach me at zach@actionvfx.com. Again, thank you so much.
I think with that, we're ready to start our panel. I do see some of the questions have been answered. If you have any questions for any of our panelists today, please put them in the chat or Foundry, whoever you'd like to. We're going to start with a few questions, and I'm just going to close this thing so we can see people up close. Not closing. Remove this. There we go. All right. So we're going to get started. The first question I think we're going to start with is we're going to ask our panelists, what are you looking for in a candidate when you guys are hiring, and thinking from probably a more junior perspective. We'd love to hear what your thoughts are. Maybe start with Tamara. I'm looking down at you.
Yeah, I was ready to. I was like just being make sure everybody else was okay. Yeah, no, thanks for. I think it's a great question, and with my background in human resources, I'm of course the first thing that we want to definitely ensure is that tech capability is there, and then in addition to that, what I'm looking for when I think about people coming into the organization is what is their are they, change management, resilience? What does that look like for them? How, are they building up their skills and tolerance for that, considering what the working environment's looking like right now? So we want to look for candidates who are agile and ready to adjust to the climate and the what's going on in not only the industry, but, like the pandemic and kind of what that's put on us. And so how have they adapted? And that's going to tell us how they're going to be able to move through changes in the organization, because we know that change is a constant, regardless of if there's a pandemic or not. And so do they have the emotional intelligence? Do they have the skill set to move through that? And how resilient are they showing up? And even at a junior level, what does that look like as they're coming into their career? We would expect them to have some sort of foundational knowledge or training or self-awareness that they would be able to articulate perhaps during an interview or such.
Those soft skills are so important. Harriet, what about you? What do you guys look like in it for a junior candidate?
Yeah, I think to agree with what Tamara said, the soft skills as a junior are really important because you don't have the industry experience to back you. You've got to, come across as being the right fit for the team. And I always say, doing outreach work with universities is you need and should want to be someone that you would like to work with. That's, I think, really important. Think about personality traits that maybe at an office would annoy you. Well, avoid those. I think as well, it's being collaborative, having that adaptability, because as a junior, you're not necessarily going to know exactly what direction you want to go in, and that's fine. I would definitely encourage that, because I think people come out of university expecting that studios are going to want them to know, right, I want to do this. I've seen many, many times, people join in junior 2D roles and then they start thinking, actually, maybe I'd like to do 3D. So they go do 3D. Then they start working in production. And there was a guy I used to work with at DNEG who ended up leaving to go and do finance. It happens. So I think they need to put less pressure on themselves to know exactly what they want to do. But at the same time, be proactive, be adaptable, be a sponge. If you are given the opportunity to get into a studio, grab it by the horns. Like, not everybody gets that chance, and you just cannot take it, but you have to really make the most of it. So it's about trying to demonstrate those skills from an early stage.
I just want to jump in really quick too and add, because I just did a facilitated session yesterday on change readiness with our tech team across Canada. And one of the areas that we talked about is that growth mindset. And one of my favorite images, and if you Google this, you'll be able to find it really quick, but is, going outside of your comfort zone, that's where the magic happens, right? And so we want employees who are coming in and who are going to take that initiative and learn more and be that sponge and look for those opportunities and have those conversations and soak up as much as they can.
That's awesome. That's actually amazing advice. Thank you. Sean, you come from Sweden with a small boutique studio. When you are looking at junior candidates, because they're joining a very high performing team, what do you guys look for?
I suppose what we're looking for, because we're not so blessed with as many people in London or the US, is people with initiative who are self-going, who really enjoy what they do. But an appreciation of film, understanding context of a shot based on the film that they're working on. And to a certain extent, I try to push it on them. It's trying to understand budgets. And there's an argument from both sides. What I mean by budgets is we may agree to do a project and they may. I've had this so many times where people say, why are we doing this? Why are we doing this? And it's because you want to be part of it and you want them to be involved. So what I tend to do with my juniors and staff is try to throw them in the deep end and see what they can do, and never being worried to fail. As long as we got because someone's just said it, sorry, I'm not sure who said it, but basically, if they've got that enthusiasm to do a shot or get into VFX, there's a reason for it. And hopefully we can give that to them. And what we do as a smaller company, and by no means we're not as good as these bigger companies and stuff like that, but we've kind of done quite well what we do. But what we do is throw the people into the deep end with almost some sort of safety net. It's never on them, it's on us. And we try to make sure that we give them the stabilizers to go through the shots and support. But as I said, we don't have, I was having this conversation with the guys beforehand, we're not so big to have layers of departments. So you need to rotor, you need to track, you need to do CG comp, you need to look to lighting. Dependent on the artist who's coming in. I mean, obviously they don't, as they mentioned before, they have no idea what they're going to do. They may want to be a comp artist and then be a 3D artist, or maybe, as Harriet said, maybe a financial advisor somewhere else or something like that. But it's a journey. And I think what we're looking for is more of an enthusiasm to understand visual effects. Why did you get there in the first place? Then let's try to help you get there. That's what we try to do. It's not that complicated. We're not that bright. We just kind of figure how to do things as we go along and work with people around us to make sure that we achieve the look we do. And that's what we've been doing for a few years now.
No, that's awesome. And I'm seeing a question in the questions tab from Laurence Simet. And I think Laurence has a unique perspective, being that I know he's a teacher and he's also a CG supervisor at a studio. And Laurence's question, his comment is, there's not enough talented graduates to fill the headcount in studios, especially on the technical side. How can the education industry meet this need effectively? That's a really good question.
Yeah, and I popped in an answer there, and I think it's more so for like inside of an organization there where we see mentorship and buddy programs, and transferring that knowledge. So I'm not sure if that completely answers your question. So I do apologize if it doesn't, but I think it's a great question that we can. Perhaps it's those relationships that you're building with the organizations in the industry, and maybe it's that mentorship program, right? Maybe it's that through that internship program, where you have those leaders that are exiting and being able to transfer that knowledge to the next generations that are coming in.
And I just wanted to add, just because when I was talking with the organizations, one of the things we've heard in our work with the Academy Software Foundation, especially on the technical side in terms of R&D and software development and technical directors, is the students that contribute to open source. We've heard from a variety of studios that if a student's working on OpenEXR or OpenColor.io, they're pretty much guaranteed a job in the industry. So I think I'd love to hear from some of the schools about, what you guys think about encouraging students to get involved, especially on the more technical side of programming. Tamara and Harriet and Sean, if you saw someone who had been participating in something like open source technology development, would that be exciting for you guys in terms of the technical roles you hire?
For me, it would be.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's really important. You can't underestimate that sort of knowledge that can help a company. It can help by 10-20% of the expediency of a project. So yeah, absolutely.
So
yeah, completely agree.
Need to encourage more of that. I was visiting a customer yesterday and seeing what people are starting to do with the machine learning tools in Nuke and how technical that is, has given us a bit of a think in terms of some of the training we want to help support schools in the industry, because it's hard stuff. It's not easy. So, all right. Next question, Chris. I'm going to just throw this one here for Zach, just because I had it. There's a few of them. So, Zach, would you like to answer? Does Action VFX have an education plan for students in schools?
Yes, I'd love to. So currently, we do have offerings for educational use. They are included in our multi-user plans and options when purchasing. And those will give you complete access for all students and all faculty. So that gives you the ability, if you do the subscription or perpetual license, to purchase those and upload them to a school server, and everybody can actually have access to that all from there.
Amazing. Hopefully that answers your question. A couple of people had that question. Another question here. This is a really good question, and I know for some of the studios, especially in places like Soho, this is a big thing. But if a lot of entry-level positions as a runner or PAs have disappeared because of remote work, what are the other avenues for developing recent grads to get their foot in the door? Harriet, do you want to start with this one?
Yeah, this is a really tough one. And I was recently on another panel where the topic was, is the running role redundant? And I'm definitely one that doesn't think it is. I think it's a really valuable role that I think studios will need for a long time coming, but it's definitely not as in demand as it was, years ago. It is really tough. And I think it's very dependent on studios, and obviously the pandemic has made things a lot harder, and there are millions of students from that graduated in 2019 to this year that are struggling to get those opportunities. I mentor a really sweet girl who graduated in 2019, and today she got offered a job. Today she has been trying and trying since then, and I've been mentoring. Don't give up. Coming from a large studio like DNEG, where they ran internships and graduate schemes and had all the running roles, to then coming to a place like Union, where we have one runner. He works part-time at the moment because we're only in the office part-time. But I'm seeing a lot more opportunities at Union for juniors. That's sort of mainly within match, move and roto. So again, I think it's about thinking about the route that you want to take longer term, and whether that be a 2D or 3D discipline, creating a show reel that will help you get that first role and allow you to move into a roto position, move up into prep, comp, etc. I will not sugarcoat it. The competition is really tough right now because of the amount of year groups that are trying to get the jobs that are only just now starting to open up again. But similar to what I said to my mentor, it's just about persevering, keep working on personal projects, put your show reel on socials, see if you can reach out to professionals to get feedback, and just keep trying, and try not to be disheartened, because fingers crossed it will eventually pay off and you'll land that job that you've been working so hard to get. But it's a really tough time right now. So I do, my heart goes out to all the students struggling.
Yeah. I think I would add to, in conjunction with that, and what I'm also hearing from that is really thinking about the students' network, right? It's not just what's immediate. What we often just go, oh, our network is, in our organization or at school or what have you, but really expanding that and looking at all avenues, and then seeing, who can I ask to be my mentor for these particular skills, for this particular area of interest, right? And then, maybe somebody has 1, 2, 3 mentors, or a buddy, or someone they can just job shadow for a day and, document that, track that, so that they can speak to that experience and insight that they're gaining while they're in that transition state of trying to get that first job, and not limit themselves just based on what they see in front of them, but who else is in my network.
That's a good point. Yeah, I have a couple of things I'm going to mention about that as well. But Sean, for you with entry level, is there any other avenue in your studio for a recent grad to get their foot in the door?
Yeah, of course there is. There always is. It's if you find a student or someone who's relatively good and they're smart, you hold on to them. Whereas, as I said, basically because we're in Sweden, we're not, we're a very small company and we're fighting against everyone else who's trying to get gigs. And when you get artists who show initiative, you hold on to them. It's exactly what the guys have said already, Tamara and Harriet. If they've got a good showreel and they're interested in working with you and they're working, it could be remotely. What COVID has proved and what we've been doing for quite a few years now is been working remotely with a lot of freelancers, and we kept the freelancers close and we've maintained a relationship. They keep working with us and we hold them together. So if a student is willing to take a gamble with us and we see potential, it's in our interest to hold on to them. That's what we've kind of done as well in a smaller way. But that's these guys do.
No, and I think what Harriet said as well on the networking and the online networking, we've seen so for Foundry, and I know other companies do it as well, Houdini and Autodesk do it too, is really showcasing their work on Instagram and starting to create that community. We also see, we've heard from our own customers, students that reach out, that follow the artists that they admire. And really, I think the most important thing that I've heard from our commercial customers is knowing who you're applying to. Like if your dream is to be a creature designer, you might not want to go to a VFX studio that specializes in water or large effects. You might want to look at those studios that are creating creatures if you want to do environments, and just, encouraging your students to do their homework and study as much as they can about the market that they want to go into and the companies that they're looking at. The pandemic has done so much, but I think it's also in a weird way brought a lot of us a little bit closer together, which is kind of crazy. We've got some questions here on technical platforms. So I'm going to put Matthew's question up. When teaching programming to VFX students, could you give some insight on what solutions and applications that they need to know, or platforms that would be useful in terms of the engineering platforms and development tools? Maybe start with should I start with Sean?
To be honest, I'll be the wrong person to answer this. No, to be fair, to be honest, it'd be more Nuke, Maya. For us with Nuke, in regards to pieces of the Nuke platform, I'm only looking for comp artists right now in the world we're in right now. I'm so short of Nuke artists. I would love everyone to start learning Nuke. From our companies based mostly on composition and map paintings. So I'm sorry, I can't add more to that.
Okay, that's right. I see not doing my homework properly on how technical you guys get in the pipeline. Tamara, what about yourselves? I know you hire a lot of R&D and development roles.
Yeah, and I too, I feel bad. I'm not as well versed. This is, we're going to go to Harriet. She's an expert here, because this is my first go around in visual effects and whatnot, and so. I'm excited to hear too from Harriet's experience and what she's seeing in addition to what Sean's already shared.
Yeah, so from a kind of a more technical point of view, I think, again, touching on what Jen, you said a moment ago, it's about doing the research of the companies that you're applying to or are interested in working for, and working out what applications that they use, because schools, universities, they don't always teach the ones that are predominantly being used. So it's about spending time doing that in your own time and, getting courses where you can. I would say visual effects, the kind of main app that is used would be Python. That is kind of what we are using predominantly at Union, but even still coming from DNEG, working, interviewing people from MPC, Framestore, ILM, all these other companies, it's Python. That is the big one from a technical point of view. So I think that's definitely, if you want to be doing a technical role within a visual effects house, that's probably going to be the go-to app that you'll be using.
Yeah, that sounds again, doing that research too, and looking at the schools, the studios around your school. The best way to find out as much as you need to about what a pipeline looks like is look at pipeline engineer jobs. That you can find them on LinkedIn and Glassdoor and I forget the other sites. I think Creative Cow might have some, but really trying to understand the studio's pipeline engineer TDs and roles. That'll tell you a lot about the tools and the techniques they use. Cool. We have a question here. This is a good question about remote artists, because Sean, you talked about remote artists. DNEG, I know you have some as well, and Harriet as well at Union VFX. And I've heard this before as well, but how can students get jobs remotely, or young professionals or people retraining their skills to work remote? Sometimes it's required to be in the same country or state or province, depending on where you're coming from. Sean, can you speak to any of the limitations on where you hire from remotely? Does it matter?
I mean, it does and it doesn't. I mean, yes, if it's a co-production and there's a tax rebate or some sort of cash incentive, then it has to be done in the region. Then yes, like in the UK, you got to do it in the UK because obviously you've applied for tax credit. Same in Sweden. Actually, sorry, Finland. The same thing. That's what we're doing. So yes, there is a incentive there to stay in the country and you work in the country. But remotely, it depends on the companies. We do a lot of remote work. We have a lot of artists around the world that we use. I mean, not loads of companies, but people, because it's more cost effective for us. So there is potential there. But the problem is that what I found just recently is that it's the quality. The quality isn't there. I'm finding it very difficult to find very strong artists who are even junior levels. I mean, there are some juniors who think they've come to university or done their courses and they think they've done it and that's it, without a realization of what hours are required to actually do the shots, to actually look. I think the biggest thing we talked about at the very beginning is having an eye for work, looking. And again, I'm only coming from from comping and map painting side. I've got very talented and I'm very fortunate to have the artists I have, but they have a very good eye, and that's something that you have to learn. It's very difficult. So remote isn't a problem. I think there's no reason why you can't do remote work. It's actually, again, what Harriet has said and Tamara said, you show your quality as a show reel, throw it in, they'll look at it, or I will look at it, certainly, or my colleagues will look at it, and we'll bring you in and we'll give you a go. And then if it works, there's no reason why you can't work remotely. It shouldn't be an argument anymore.
Definitely. Tamara, I know you guys have global locations. And
Yeah, actually, and what we're seeing here is that, the company is realizing and recognizing that we need to start flexing with this and be open to having more remote workers. I mean, right now we all pretty much are, but finding that balance between, here are the places with those tax, incentives, but at the same time, where are the artists located, right? Where is that talent? And if we really want to bring them in, we're going to have to flex. So I think there's a shift happening. It might not go as fast as we want it to, but it definitely will take place. It has to, just based on where talent is located and if they are willing to move or not. So we've kind of set some boundaries around that as we're navigating that and how flexible we can be. So we have some, just some parameters. But again, the organization is very mindful that we need to be agile with this.
That's great to hear. And Harriet, anything to add on where you can hire people from and some of the challenges?
Yeah, so I mean, we are working with more remote workers than we have, ever. A lot of our crew are in this office 2 days a week, but I think the challenge that we are now facing is for the work that we are needing to do with the crew that we need to hire, we physically do not have the room in the office. So we are having to look at, okay, this is going to have to be remote. Our hands are tied. We don't have the desks. We have also set parameters and, kind of touching on the original question, being these guys sound like it's probably their first opportunity out of school. For us, we do see it does become difficult when you are working with a remote worker that has never worked in the industry before, because the whole point is that they have that support system around them. And when you are remote, not necessarily in a different country, but, different time zones, like it's very, very difficult. And up until the point where we were all working from home, it really changed our approach to hiring. And we did look at people that had to have had industry experience, because we had to be able to trust and be confident that they could do this at home in their bedroom or wherever it is that they're working from. Whereas now we're transitioning back into this hybrid role, we are opening up more opportunities and giving people the chance that have never had a job to come and work, seeing how they get on, etc. So that's kind of our biggest thing. I think the other thing is time zones. You know, we have our core working hours, and it's about being able to communicate with the team. And we are a London-based studio, so I've got one of our freelancers is actually going to Buenos Aires for Christmas, lucky thing. But we've agreed that she will work but remotely, but she is going to shift her hours to UK hours to be on the same time zone as us. So again, if you're lucky enough to get the opportunity, you're going to have to also think about being flexible to be online for the times that the studio you're working for are online. So that's kind of how we're finding things.
Quick question on that.
I was going to say that, Terry, but do you not, sorry to go across, I was just wondering, but do you not find it's easier with tasks if you're giving them tasks within a certain time frame, so you know what the level of the, I mean, that's what we've been doing. We've been trying to give tasks to certain levels of artists that we think can do that. So then the timing doesn't really become essential as long as that task is completed and we receive it first thing in the morning. Obviously, if there's a problem with it, then we allow ourselves time to get that back and say, okay, but we allow ourselves that time. So it's more a product, because I understand completely what you're saying. And I think you're totally right in everything what you just said. But I think we've kind of had to, again, we're smaller, and so we've had to adapt. And so we kind of tried to play on things. So that's how we've managed to bring them in. And it to a certain extent, it's worked. And again, but it's also failed miserably when you get the wrong ones in. But it's actually finding that right person. But it's actually task driven. Yeah. So as long as you know what the tasks are.
I think you can definitely find a balance between the two. And we do work with outsourcing companies. And so quite often you do have that time to kind of that you have to wait to get that feedback. But yes, I think it does work. It's more about getting the team here kind of on board.
Oh, no, I agree. There's nothing more better than having a team around you that you can communicate face to face. It's much better than having it out. I totally agree with that. I think also, but we're so lucky with Slack and with all various other tools and instant messaging that we got that possibility to show things very quickly, that we can actually get an opinion, which we didn't have a couple of years ago, 3 years ago, let's say. So that's from my perspective, but I'm playing in a different field to you guys.
I think some of the challenges in the question too were focused a little bit on tax credits, and then the challenge of having to hire in the UK, in BC, in Quebec. I think a lot of studios are still faced with that constraint sometimes. I think there's a multitude of reasons, and I know Hugo was mentioning in the chat. I was just looking at his feedback. A lot of his students are like outside of the UK, which then. So is that an issue for your studio, Harriet, where they're located?
No, we're working with a number of people outside of the UK. I think it would come down to the level, it's about being confident that they would be able to do the work without the support that typically you get in a studio environment. And so typically we're looking at people with a few years experience.
Right.
If we know they are going to be solely remote.
Right. That makes sense. And I actually feel bad. I'm being remiss. I should post a little link. I'm just going to selfishly post a list of Foundry jobs, because we do also hire junior folks at Foundry. Our QA roles often come in as young graduates, and then they very often they quickly move up through the ranks. Thinking of Charlie Holt, who heads up the product management of our Mari product. She came in from QA, and she came from a local uni. I think she was at Bournemouth. But it's really important to think about that as well. So we do have quite a few roles where we hire juniors as well at Foundry. So thinking about not just studios, but also the infrastructure around studios, there are some opportunities. We do hire remote as well. We do have the same constraints a little bit in terms of, yes, we hire juniors. We tend to hire in the region at least, so that there can be some sort of face-to-face when possible. But for sure, the first year of COVID, we didn't have any face-to-face. So it's a good question, and I think one that the industry will continue to evolve and work with. We're almost done. Anything just to go around our panelists? I'm just looking at the questions while I'm doing this, but is there, I know there was a question about jobs in California from a school here in California from Kathleen. And I think we had an answer from that within the questions tab. But I just wanted to put this out there, Kathleen, just because I've met with a couple of studios here in LA this week, meeting with a couple more today and tomorrow. And all I hear about is the need for talent. So it might be a bit of a misnomer or old information about, all the work being moved out of LA. But as Martin Hall, who's over at Noman as well, pointed out, there's quite a few jobs. So happy to connect Kathleen, and we could talk about some of the local customers we have and we know that are looking for LA-based artists. But there's a lot of work, like everyone said. You can't fill your seats fast enough. And, we've heard things about productions being delayed because there's not enough talent. And so we need your schools, we need your students, we need that teaching, and we're grateful to what you're doing. So please keep up the good work, and hopefully we'll be able to connect more and talk to our industry friends like Tamara and Sean, Harriet, and others to help you guys and get the information you need. Do you guys want to add anything as we wrap up?
Just on that last note about Southern California, we have a studio in LA, and we are hiring VFX for right now. What I would encourage too is not to just look at just the LA studio as an example, but when you go like on our careers page, look at the other cities. And maybe the question to the recruiter is, would you consider, I see you're hiring for Vancouver, but would you consider me, who's in Southern California, for this role versus, I don't know if people are just discounting it because it says Vancouver specifically, but we are completely open to that, and just maybe initiating that question maybe a way to do that, right? And because sometimes we get wrapped up in our tasks too, and we're working really fast, but throw that phone out to us.
Very cool.
Or us.
or in Sweden or in London.
I think I'll just finally add, I cannot reiterate enough, do your research, do your homework when you are looking for jobs. It will honestly be so worth it, and make such a difference to your applications. Like, please, research.
Definitely. Absolutely. I think that's the number one thing that we've heard from all of our customers.
Mm-hmm. I think too, in addition to that is, what comes up for me really strongly is when I think about the students who are in that stage of looking for work and it's becoming really challenging. We've talked about, networks and that support group while they're going through that process, to really carry them through during that time so that they're not losing that hope, right? And that they're working towards something and they're having those milestones. But that can come through that support network versus not having that at all.
Awesome way to wrap it up, Tamara. Thank you so much. And thank you everyone for giving up an hour of your morning, afternoon, and evening. We really appreciate it. We really appreciate what you're doing. We're really excited to have Kirsten on board at Foundry to help manage these education relationships. And we look forward to our next educational summit. So good luck to the folks who entered our polls to win a prize. Check out Dan Smith's book, Nuke Nodes. It's awesome, and keep in touch and keep an eye out. And again, please let us know how we can do better to help you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.